On this channel, we are sophisticated, worldly people, and as such, it takes a lot to impress us. Oh my god, that cloud looks like a dog! Are you seeing this? Therefore, when a video game does something subtle and ingenious, it has to be something pretty dang subtle and ingenious to wow the likes of us. The same clearly goes for the discerning viewers of our earlier video on tiny but satisfying details in games, because the commenters chimed in with suggestions of their own striking little details in games that made them sit up and take notice. Get a load of those incredible subtle details yourself in this video. In the meantime, I'll just be over here. You're not gonna look. It's exactly like a dog.
Andy, focus, please.
It's got a tail and everything!
You will find Victor Novikov basking in the spotlight, while Dalia Margolis hosts the heavily guarded auction on the second floor for a group of Iago's top customers. Now, event security will keep a watchful eye on any suspicious activity, but I trust your timeless look shall fit right in.
Let's be honest, the term artificial intelligence is often a very generous way to describe the behaviour of NPCs in Hitman. Take, for example, the famous electric puddle chain kill.
It's been an accident. This person might be dead.
You never know, maybe the next guy is the one who's immune to electricity. But, like putting a pair of glasses on your dog, the game has a method for giving these guys the outward appearance of intelligence, even though they occasionally crap on the carpet, figuratively speaking.
Hey, I need your help. Hey, what's going on? We got a psychopath on the loose. All right. What? You see something?
That method is giving them tons and tons of uniquely written and voiced lines of dialogue, which make all the mostly mindless NPCs milling around your average Hitman level seem like they have rich inner lives.
Hey, it's me. I thought about what you said. Yeah, I changed my mind. It was an insane idea to start with. Exploding golf ball. I don't want blood on my hands.
It's even more effective when they speak to you directly, including commenting on your weird behaviour.
Okay, I don't know where you're from, man, but that's not the way we do it here, okay?
Noticing when you've dropped something.
Wow.
Excuse me, sir. I think you dropped that.
And even, if you're dressed well enough, checking you out.
Not bad. Not bad at all.
Why don't you take a picture? It'll last longer. Actually, don't do that. That will severely compromise my 5-star stealth run. It's pretty much all smoke, mirrors, and a dialogue script that has more pages than War and Peace, but there are a handful of moments that are carefully authored to feel even more interactive, as identified by commenter Steel Fist. Another honourable mention, Hitman 2 NPC dialogue that reacts to the player's actions. Yeah, get him, Steve. Player knocks out the guard. Maybe next time, Steve. Yes, in certain rare occasions, an NPC will tee you up with a line, and if you act in a certain way, will then respond directly to what you just did. It doesn't happen often, but this is by far the funniest occasion.
Yeah, get him, Steve. Next time, Steve.
This small touch goes a long way to convincing you that the hired goons you're going up against are actually pretty smart. Although, now that I think about it, maybe cracking wise when there's a murderous assassin rampaging around not 5 feet away from you isn't actually that clever.
Damn it, you son of a bitch!
Hey, just be thankful he didn't crap on the carpet.
There is a curious correlation with the yet unknowable forces intruding upon our world.
Maybe I'm just easily pleased, but for me, nothing makes me happier in a game than when a bit of background set dressing works the way it's supposed to. A vending machine dispenses cans? Brilliant. You can pick up and throw a basketball? Outstanding. A toilet makes a flush sound when you press it? Game of the Year candidate. But for sheer attention to detail and a minor bit of level furniture, we looked at the suggestion from commenter I Will Haunt You. I loved that the projectors in Control were truly projecting their images. You could walk in front of them and have your shadow cast on the wall, and you could knock them over and they'd accurately project their images on whatever the new surface is. As you travel through the oldest house, the weird brutalist office building in which most of Control takes place, you'll stumble across several of these projectors, which are projecting videos and slideshows onto screens to help you understand what is going on.
Dreamlike haze.
There, that should clear up any lingering questions you have. Anyway, as with anything that isn't literally nailed down in Control, these projectors can be plucked from their position with telekinesis and then carried elsewhere, waved around, or just hurled at people who look like they might be a little bit possessed by otherworldly forces. As I Will Haunt You points out though, these persevering projectors will just keep running as you waggle them around the place, accurately projecting the image onto whatever surface you point it at in whatever orientation you have it in.
And what's the effect? Are we the starting point or just a necessary evil?
It even stops working if you hurl it angrily at a wall. Which I can tell you from experience is what happens to real movie projectors. Hey, don't blame me, blame the producers of Space Jam: A New Legacy.
In general, games don't tend to concern themselves too much with where the player character is storing all those weapons. All I'm saying is, Doom Guy must have some fairly large trousers. And hopefully a protective cover for that chainsaw. So when it comes to the pinnacle of weapon stashing realism, you wouldn't necessarily expect it from The Witcher 3, a game where you can drink a potion that lets you talk to your horse.
Oh, you're awake. Had me worried. You were out way too long.
I suppose it's about time we had a gritty reboot of Mr. Ed. The Witcher 3 does at least take some things seriously, in particular Geralt's swordsmanship, as he spectacularly whirls his two blades in such a way that you wonder how he's managed to keep all four of his limbs connected to his torso for this long. It's not the actual fighting that caught commenter Calification's notice though. It was after the fighting, specifically the animation where the swords are put away. When Geralt sheathes his swords in The Witcher 3, his left hand goes down and gently pushes the sheath out from his back, giving him a better angle when inserting the sword. They're not wrong. If you watch the animation closely, Geralt uses his left arm to subtly alter the angle of the scabbard to allow the sword to slide in more quickly and easily. There's a bit of a fudge there. Even with the movement of his arm, if you slow the animation down, you'll realise that Geralt would probably need to dislocate his shoulder to sheath his sword as quickly as he does, and that the scabbard isn't entirely solid. But regardless, this subtle addition to the animation means that at full speed, it looks plenty convincing. It's exactly the sort of attention to detail developer CD Projekt Red was known for, right up until they released Cyberpunk 2077 in the state they did.
Think all this is funny? Yeah, I do.
Are we 100% sure 2077 isn't just the date they expect it to be finished? Maybe it's like FIFA 22.
It's a bathhouse.
There are a few practical points to being an archaeologist/adventurer that no one teaches you at archaeology school, or at adventuring school. These are the little unforeseen things that become constant logistical bothers once you're out in the field pursuing your career as a tomb-raiding daredevil. Like, for example, how you never seem to pack enough mosquito repellent, or how the price of travel insurance goes through the roof after every insurance provider on Earth finds out you're incapable of boarding a flight that doesn't crash.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna level it!
Hello, insurance? Yeah, it happened again. Well, I'm not happy about it either. The other thing no one tells you at archaeology school is that all this adventuring will take a terrible toll on your fabulous hair, because that hair will get dunked in every body of liquid you come across, whether the liquid be salt water, swamp water, or a bunch of blood. But this wear and tear on Lara's hair is a hardship that she takes in her stride, with a pleasing little contextual animation admired by commenter Sparkly Dash, who says, "I remember in a Tomb Raider game where Lara would quickly wring out her ponytail every time you came out of water." Indeed, in Shadow of the Tomb Raider and in Rise of the Tomb Raider, when Lara has taken one of her regular dips, she squeezes the excess water out of her hair, in a move that is as casual as it is relatable to those with longer hair, which I'm told is inconveniently heavy when soaking wet.
Must be a way to get in there.
It's a well-observed and convincingly matter-of-fact little detail that makes Lara Croft even more real, to the point where you can practically see her thinking about the deep conditioning treatment her hair's going to need when she gets back to the hotel, after soaking in all this filthy nature water. What? Nature water is filthy. Fish pee in it. They do!
Hey man, what you want?
Seeing my homie.
What's up with you?
Yeah, homie. Yeah, it's good to see you back.
No homie love? No hug?
Grand Theft Auto games have always known the importance of a good soundtrack. From cruising the streets of Vice City to the sound of 80s bangers, discovering Eastern European music in GTA 4, or spending 45 minutes listening to the soothing GTA 5 install theme as it copied to your Xbox 360 hard drive on launch day. It's the only thing that kept my frustration at not being able to play GTA 5 yet in check. Unlike most games where the swelling, cinematic soundtrack is all for the good of the gamer, Grand Theft Auto's music has always been presented as a series of in-world radio stations that just happen to be playing when you entered a vehicle. What? I don't want a copyright strike. It wasn't until GTA San Andreas that the player characters actually acknowledged the fact that these songs were playing at all, as commenter Show Shonny recalls. What about GTA San Andreas when sometimes CJ will start singing a song you commonly listen to on the radio if you stand around long enough? Yes, it's not just you who's memorised the same songs you've been listening to over and over again for the last 40 hours of GTA. Your character CJ has too, and if you leave him alone for a bit, he'll begin tunelessly singing one of the songs from the soundtrack.
Roller coaster!
Someone needs to get him some Grand Theft Auto tune. CJ's inability to hold a melody notwithstanding, this is a lovely little feature that ties the in-game action to the brilliant soundtrack. Give it a try yourself, just make sure you do it in an area where you aren't going to get immediately murderized by one of the asshole, jerk-face rival gangs.
That's OG CJ on the ground. Where you been all my life, baby?
Play the music. Yeah, it's better. It's better.
Good work, Noble 6. UNSC air support. Skies are clear.
Copy 2 Lima 4, bombing run, heading 224.6, permission granted, out.
Take that south road and see if you can get a better look at this fire.
In our hectic, TikTok-saturated modern society, how many of us still take the time to put down the smartphone and just really look at our own legs? Clearly, not very many of us, because if you play a lot of video games, we can almost guarantee that at some point you have experienced the feeling of surprise and unexpected delight when looking down in a first-person game and going, holy crap, I have legs in this one. This detail is all the more satisfying because of its rarity, as we don't need to tell you that almost every first-person video game out there imagines the player as a sort of hovering eyeball. And when you look around at where your body should be, all you see is floor, or occasionally a hand or two that pops up to hold weapons or pull a lever. Okay, you have to let us have some limbs, Resident Evil. We've spoken on this channel before about what an extremely nice touch it is to be able to see your legs when you look down, especially because almost no first-person games bother with this detail. Or if they do, it often ends up looking less cool and immersive, and more like your character is trying very hard to knee themselves in the face. So we have to give a huge hand, or should that be huge thigh, calf, knee, shin and foot, to the Halo series, which not only lets you look down at a Spartan's armoured gams, but takes things one step even further, no pun intended. See, in the Halo series, a discreet but delightful touch sees your protagonist actually subtly adjust their legs when you switch weapons. What exact leg stance you get depends sensibly on the size and weight of your weapon, which means you can play Halo safe in the knowledge that your character is dynamically, very slightly, altering their bearing to more comfortably wield whatever weapon they have equipped, although that doesn't explain our terrible aim. It's a sweet bit of programming, as thoughtful as it is unlikely to ever be noticed by most players, but once you see it, expect your game to suffer considerably as you ignore everything else around you in favour of watching your character's shifting leg stance, possibly to the detriment of your game.
Suicide.
But as we said, it's something we all might be happier if we just made the time to do. God, my trainers are filthy.
We want you, we accept you, and we will take you, willingly or not. And some of you may fight, but in the end you will thank us.
You remember Far Cry 5? It's the one that wasn't set in an endlessly Instagrammable tropical island or a breathtaking Himalayan mountain range, but instead in the more familiar environment of Montana, USA. Still, it had a murderous bear called Cheeseburger. Definitely balances out. Far Cry 5 also had a lot of dialogue. Dialogue that took up precious time that you could otherwise be spending going on great adventures in the forest with your pal Cheeseburger, like a sort of ultra-violent version of Winnie the Pooh.
Jesus, shoot this bear!
Cover your eyes, Piglet. Cover your eyes until it's over. As in just about every game in the modern era, you do have the option to simply skip the dialogue, and usually you'd barely give it a second thought. In a neat touch though, Far Cry 5 blends this common mechanic with the actual game world, as commenter The Great Pineapple points out. In Far Cry 5, when you skip the dialogue of a quest giver while they're still talking, rather than skipping the whole thing, the quest giver will give the objectives in a slightly annoyed way.
You got some balls rolling into town like that. Most folk take, well, you're in a sweet rush. Look, just head to the grain elevator east of here and bring back the Widowmaker.
Indeed, when you skip through dialogue in Far Cry 5, the quest giver will often notice your disdain for their exposition and passive-aggressively comment on the fact that you just rattled through their dialogue faster than the cast of an Aaron Sorkin movie.
Oh, so you're too good for me, huh? Just go find my goddamn peaches.
Fine. If you're going to be snippy with me, you can deal with your weird religious death cult yourself. That said, not everyone gets their nose put out of joint by your desire to keep the action moving. As you can probably tell from the flamethrower, this shaggy-haired chap is more of an actions guy than a words guy.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm talking about. Who gives a what I'm saying? I'll show you. Come on.
It's a novel and entertaining way to make skipping dialogue part of the game. The only question is, in the world of Far Cry 5, how exactly are you silently communicating your desire to hurry the conversation along? Maybe you're pressing B to make a really bored-looking face? Yeah, it's probably that actually. Either way, as long as you don't mind offending a few people, it's right back to your wholesome animal adventures. Dang! Tigger is pissed. I know.
I figured I'd never see. Fine. Take the piece of shit, cat. It's yours. Off you go.
Hey, whoa, hey, we've reached the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. Why don't you watch another video? Maybe you'll spot some tiny details in it that you can enjoy. Here's one from us, and down here is one from Outside Extra. You can check those out. Now, if you will, please leave me alone. The cloud is not going to be there forever, and let me tell you, now it looks like 2 dogs. So, red letter day for Andy. Anyway, I'll be looking at that. You look at these.